Hello and welcome back to another Blender tutorial. Today we are going to create a stream of water dropping down into a container. And what's so special about this scene is that we are going to create it without using the fluid simulator. So you don't have to wait ages for the simulation to bake, you don't have to deal with huge cache files, and your scene can run in real time. So if you're planning on a fountain as the background object in your scene, the way I'm going to show you right now will look almost as good while being much more memory efficient. Alright, let's start. Alright, now that we are in Blender, start by adding in the plane, scale it up, then go into edit mode, press W and select subdivide, then Shift R for a few times, maybe once more. Yeah. It should be like a pretty small grid, but not too extreme. And then we can start adding in the dynamic paint modifier. So go to the physics section, select dynamic paint, and since this is supposed to be the surface of the water, select canvas, add canvas, and then down here underneath dynamic paint advanced, set the surface type to be waves. Alright, then we can move on to the stream of water falling down there. So add in a circle, move it downwards a little bit so it's below the surface, maybe a little bit more, like so. Then go into edit mode and extrude this upwards, like so. Then make sure you select everything by pressing A once or twice and make it a little bit thinner, like so. Now if you deselect everything and the shading happens to look off, just reselect it and then go in the toolbar to shading UVs and select recalculate. And now if you deselect everything, it should just look normal. Now comes a very important step. So press Ctrl R to make a loop cut, or make around 75 of them. Use the mouse wheel to set up how many you want. I like to go with 75 or maybe 80. So then go out of edit mode and just quickly activate smooth shading because it looks better. And then we can start adding the displacement modifier for this mesh. So go to the modifier section, click on add modifier, displace, create a new texture, water. This is all pretty basic stuff, so I'll go over it relatively quickly. Go to the texture settings, select clouds, and now you can see that this texture is a little bit too small the way it is right now, because we get all these jagged edges, which is not what we want. So I'm going to increase the size to something like, let's say 1.2, and in the modifier tab I'm going to drastically decrease the size of this. So it's something like this. Yeah, this should be good. This is what it should look like. Maybe a little bit weaker. Yeah. Yeah. So I've got it to on 0.19. You can play around with this until you like it. Then now we are going to move this texture downwards. So we need to basically change the UV coordinates, and we are going to do that with a little trick. And for that we need to add in an empty. So Shift A, empty plane axis. There it is. And then go to the object settings. Here, the little cube icon. Right click on the Z location. Select add driver, single from target, and then click down here where it says the current frame number, And as you can see, we've now successfully linked the current frame number to the Z location. So if I play back this animation, you can see it just starts moving upwards. But moving upwards is obviously not what we want. We want it to move downwards, and we also want it to be a little bit slower. So split the view like so. And in the new window, open a graph editor. Go to the driver mode right here. Make sure that you have the Z location driver selected. Bring up the toolbar right here. And then, first of all, if the driver doesn't work, that might be because it's set to scripted expression, like here, scripted expression. That is disabled by default on most systems. So if that doesn't work, just set it to averaged value. This should work equally well, and it's not disabled by default. So now we have these two handlers here. Select the second one and just move it slightly below the x-axis, because this way our empty is going to move down over time. So if we play back the animation right now, you can see that it is moving down, but it's far too slow. Wheel water is much faster. So grab this handle, move it downwards, and play again. I think that's still a little bit slow, so I'm just going to grab it once more and see. Again, just play around with it till you get something that you think works right. Yeah, I think that's it. That's good. Yeah, I'll go with this one. We can always tweak it later. So go back to the full 3D view. And now all we need to do is select our stream object, go to the modifier section, and underneath texture coordinates, change it from local to object, and select the empty we've just created. And you'll see, if you play it back, boom, it looks like water flowing down here. Now, all we need to do to get the perfect water stream is to add the dynamic paint modifier to this. So go to the physics section once again, click on dynamic paint, and this time we're going to set it to brush mode. So add a new brush, and if you play it, you can already see, yeah, it's definitely making waves, and it looks pretty nice. But there's one trick which I like to use, and for that, go down to the last point, dynamic paint waves, and change it from depth change to force. Now, if we increase the force a little bit, I think that looks much nicer, although the waves are pretty small this time. Again, something you can try. Maybe you can leave it on depth change. It kind of depends on the effect you want to create with it. Maybe like, I think for this scene a depth change might be even better. Just so you know, there's another option in case this one looks off, because sometimes it does. And as a last step, go back to your water object, shade it smooth, and maybe down here with the play around with the spring value. That's basically the force which pulls back the water. So if you set this like really high, you get these really small waves, and if you set it lower to something like 0.1, the waves get a little bit bigger. So that is also something you might want to consider when making this. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.